Hey guys, quick video here about some of the different tools that you guys use and the ones that I use to work on my guns and clean them and just do a whole bunch of different shit. So anyways, I'm making this because I wanted to show you guys just a few things that I use in case there's something in here that you think might be beneficial to you. And I'd like to if anyone ever wants to make a video response or anything like that, or leave in the comment section, let me know what kind of handy stuff you guys use too. Let me start out here. This is pretty basic stuff. These are like around the house tools, but you'll always use things like Allen wrenches and different bit heads, and you'll even use needle nose pliers a decent amount when you're working on your guns for, the little small parts and things. There are lots of small parts with guns. And then from time to time even, the magnetic little screwdrivers here aren't bad. And then sometimes, obviously, well, it might not be obvious to you if you've never worked on a gun before, but sometimes the rubber mallet just isn't quite enough to pop out like a really tight pin or something that's just been stuck on for decades, and it's just on there like a motherfucker. So sometimes you need a metal hammer just to give things that tap with, and it's just heavy enough to get something loose that hasn't been undone for a long time. Next here is just some different sandpaper. Got the 1500 grit, and you can just go get this at a auto parts store, or I think actually Ace Hardware had that too. 600 grit, and then 100 grit, and those are mostly, if you're fitting some new part to the frame of, say, like a 1911, for example, is mostly what I've used this on. You gotta smooth stuff out after you're filing, and you start with the higher grit and move it down, and then until it looks right. So that comes in real good handy. You can just this is the wet and dry sandpaper, and then this is just regular stuff I found at my mom's house in the garage. It's just regular old wood sandpaper, whatever, but it works. It does what I needed it to do. These here are jewelry files that I bought at Home Depot. So they look like this. And pull this one out so you can see what kind of. But there are multiple different kinds. You've got, as you can see, there's various different angles and shapes to these, so you can really get in at just about any angle that you need to, and you can file and do whatever you need to do. But if you are going to go as far as filing and hand fitting parts, though, make sure that you, at the very least, watch some other YouTube videos or something. There are really experienced gunsmiths and just mechanically inclined people out there that have experience tinkering with their guns, and you can get guided in the right direction, and then you'll know how to file, what to do, and hopefully you don't take off too much metal. One thing I would recommend, though, is if you do any hand fitting, especially on a 1911, if you're hand fitting parts and filing metal and making things fit that precisely, what you should do when you go to the range is do not load up a full magazine and just stick it in your gun. That can be extremely dangerous. If something's not right, if something with the sear angle, just about anything could possibly go wrong when you're doing things yourself. So start out, what I recommend is put 2 rounds in the magazine to make sure that, to make sure you don't have a runaway where where the gun just starts going full auto. If you have a full magazine, you might not be ready to hang on to it when 8 shots just zing out of there in like a second and a half, you know. It'll happen so fast, gun might fly out of your hands, somebody might get hurt. So don't do that. Start out with 2 rounds, and if you do have a runaway, it'll be a quick 2-round burst. It shouldn't be dangerous to anybody. You can manage it, but hold on tight, you know, when you first go out and test fire your gun for the first time. Hold on to it tight, just in case it does run away. You know, the first shot's not necessarily about accuracy. So that's just my little tip there for safety. And, you know, I've not had any bad experiences. Nothing's ever malfunctioned on me. I did have a little bit of a problem with the trigger resets on my 1911s after I Duracoated, and that's because the disconnector channel there, that little hole that goes through the frame, got a little bit too tight with the Duracoat that went in there. So I had to file that out, and so that the disconnector could go up and down smoother. And I'll take that to the range again here, and hopefully that'll be the problem. I'm pretty sure I figured out what where my error was, but other than that, everything's good. I mean, the triggers only failed to reset maybe every 75 rounds, like one time, you know. So it's not. I mean, it's a big deal, and I need to get it fixed, but it's not like crazy malfunctions or anything. And then, oh, also too, with the sandpaper, let me backtrack just a second. This stuff is good, the high grit, like the 1500 and the 600 even. I would start out with the 600 to polish your feed ramp. That'll be the easiest way you can get like any burrs out of the metal, any machine marks, any just any general markings that aren't, you know, smooth and, you know, good for a feed ramp. So start out with that. Don't go crazy with it though. The only goal of polishing a feed ramp is just to make it smooth, and I think once you get it, I like to make them like a mirror finish. I really do. I like them to feel smooth as glass. But you can achieve that without removing too much. I mean, without basically removing hardly anything. Take the sandpaper and just go in one direction with it, nice and steady, and just keep doing it to where you're not hardly even removing metal. You're just kind of combing the metal almost until it kind of goes in the direction that you want, so to speak. So you don't have to worry about that. Just don't go ape shit with it. Right here is the mother's polish. I would recommend, if you want to like polish your barrels, any work like that, use this stuff. It's awesome. This will make your metal shine. I mean, I think there's like flits and things like that too. So just get something like this. But beware though, if you have a dull finish, like a matte finish, bead blasted or whatever finish on, you know, some gun like a stainless steel, whatever it may be, if it's not been finished in some kind of black or a bluing, it will make your metal shiny. And if you rub too hard, you'll turn matte finish into looking like some blinging chrome wheels, you know. It'll have some sparkle to it. So, you know, just beware of that. The next thing is I actually just got these. They're pretty cheap off Amazon, and they work really well. I kind of incorrectly used a couple of my other punches and kind of used them to pry more, and ended up snapping the things off of them. So I ordered a whole new set here. It's half steel, half brass. I mean, you got a really thick, huge one down to a really small one. Same with this. And this thing here, to be honest, I don't totally know what it's even for. It's got like a spring in there, and this thing will, let me pull it out. See what, I mean, I don't know what this is for. So if anybody knows what that's for, please let me know. Um, I don't have a clue. I don't know what I'd use it for. It's like pretty sharp on the end. It's almost like a pick of some kind. I don't really know. So there's this. It is made by Calhawk, and the whole thing was it was less than $20. So each of these punches, I mean, they're not like crazy high grade or anything, but they're decent. They hold up well. You know, I've used them a couple times now, and they're nice. I would recommend this. The thing that it comes in, I mean, this is like super cheesy right here, but as little as I'll be using these, it's not like I'll be at these like every other day. I am actually starting gunsmithing school this fall, and I'll probably be putting these to a lot of work then. And I might, you know, find a nicer, just a nicer, like a sleeve to put these in, or a little bag or something like that. But yeah, I mean, for now though, it's fine. I would definitely recommend, you know, if you're looking for a punch set, it seems to be a pretty damn good one for the price especially. It works. And then got the AR wrench here. It's a real basic one. It's for the buffer tube. So you can take off that shit, I don't even know what it's called, but the nut on the buffer tube, you know, that tightens it onto the lower. And then here's just a few cleaning brushes. I think like these longer ones like this came with some pistols and stuff that I've owned before. And then just whatever here. And then this guy right here, I picked this up over at it was Lowe's or Home Depot. I don't remember which at this point. It's a Vaughn. I don't know, whatever. Just regular old mallet. But what's nice that I've not seen on most other people's mallets is they have these big old honking, like, what the fuck are those? Like, use that to like close up a paint can or something, you know? Those big ass ones. That's not good for gunsmithing when you're tapping in little pins and little parts, and that doesn't work at all. I mean, what the shit. So get yourself like a nice, fairly small little mallet that isn't too big, but it's got a nice rubber end on it. And then this end right here is like some really, really hard, like polymer, plasticky type stuff. I don't even know what it is, but it's rock hard. And this is where, when the rubber side's not quite doing it, you can use this side, and it won't scratch the finish either. So, you know, this is like the middle step. Start with this side. If it's not quite enough, and it, you know, the rubber just soaks up some of the impact, so sometimes you just need a real solid surface. So if this side doesn't work, go to that side, and if everything's failing, move to this. But this here is a last resort, because once you start hitting this on the top of your pins with a punch, you're taking finish off those pins and you're going to scratch them up. So this is only for if, you know, something's really truly stuck and you just can't get it out. So I would definitely recommend just going and picking up one of these. I think this was about 15 bucks, maybe 20 bucks, somewhere in between there. And I use this thing almost more than anything. I mean, this and my punches are what I primarily use. Because on my AR, actually, the takedown pins, Smith & Wesson kind of seems like on their M&P that I have anyways, the takedown pins got just this little bump of metal sticking out of the hole, so that when you push the pin in there, it really locks the fucker in. And I really can't push it out with just my fingers. I'd have to take a file and remove just that little bump of metal there. So I always have to take this to the range and a punch tool with me, so I can, because I don't have a bag long enough to keep my AR assembled. So I've got to separate the upper from the lower and then take this with me. This here, I did not even realize that this was Safariland for like the longest time. I don't even know how I missed that. I just picked this up at Walmart. I thought it was like a totally generic brand. I kind of thought it was probably something shitty just because I thought it was just generic looking. And then I noticed that it said Safariland up there. I don't know why. I just kind of just thought like the CLP, it was just some generic cleaner lubricant preservative. And this stuff works really well. You know, right now I'm kind of on a frog lube testing phase right now, and I like it a lot. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna go back to oil like this, because oil like this is pretty messy stuff, to be honest with you. Like Ballistol, and you got hops number 9 right here, and of the two, I'd use this. This Safariland is way better than the hops. You'll feel it too. Like on a 1911, lube up your rails with this stuff, and the action will be a hell of a lot smoother than with the hops. A lot smoother. The hops is, it's not quite thick enough. It's like more watery than this. I don't know how to describe it, but this is just a better, it's just better, in my opinion. And then back here, JB Weld. This is pretty good stuff right here. You can just go get these two tubes come together in a pack, and what you do is you just squirt a little bit out of each, and then maybe take a toothpick or whatever and stir them together, and it'll turn it into like a dark gray, kind of a glue or whatever, and then you can put that on whenever you need. I put it on the rear sights of my Taurus 1911. When I first got the gun, the first time I took it shooting, the adjustable sights, what happened is that set screw that goes in there, Taurus over tightened it. Like, they pretty much stripped it out before I got the gun even. And what happened was that I didn't even barely have the Allen wrench in there, and I didn't even turn it 1/16 of an inch. And the top of the screw just twisted and came right off the threading below it. So the threading was just stuck down in there, and you couldn't get it out. So I got the sights off, and then I just kind of coated the bottom of them and filled up the dovetail with a little bit of this. Put the sights back in, you know, kind of wiped off any excess that oozed out of the edges. Let it dry for a few days, let it cure. And those sights aren't going anywhere now. This stuff hardens into, basically, it's like a steel-like substance. When this stuff hardens, it hardens into something pretty serious. I don't know exactly what it is. It can't be real steel, I wouldn't think. Maybe, I don't really know. But it works pretty damn good though, and it's permanent, you know, so beware of that. But it is nice to have around, you know, if it's just nice stuff to have around, you know, regardless. This here, this is just a big old regular old file. This was for I've used this mostly fitting the new grip safeties on my 1911s. They required quite a bit of removal around different parts of the frame on the back side. And these little files take way too long when you got to remove that much metal. So use something like this, and then usually you don't want to go too rough though, because what'll happen is this will almost grind like I don't even know how to describe it, but it does not grind smooth though. I mean, this is for like scraping rust off of some really old like tractor or something. I mean, it's not for anything like precise at all. So use something like this. So that way you get a fairly smooth surface where you're grinding at, or filing at, and then you know, you can move to your smaller files after that, and then sandpaper, and move on to the rag and polish, just one step at a time. And then this here was some little tool that I got off of I think it was rockyourglock.com. It was like a Glock tool, and I broke it. There was it has attachments that just go in the upper. You can unscrew the top, and the little brass flathead screwdriver piece. I was kind of trying to pry on something a little bit, and I snapped it right off, so the threading of that's all stuck in there, and the end of this is completely destroyed. So what I do is I like this brush right here, and I use it to apply frog lube. So it's just a nice, like a little paintbrush almost, perfect for frog lube. And then, of course, you definitely need this. I personally think that on guns, because of the recoil and just the massive, I mean, when you fire a round, like, there's a massive, just fast, rapid movement happening with those parts, and screws can come loose. So put some Loctite on. I mean, this shit costs hardly any money. It's quick and easy. Don't skimp out. Put your grips on, whatever you gotta do. Just put a little Loctite on the screws. You won't regret it. And then this here is just a sight tool for an AR. It's the A2 front sight tool. You've got, well, I think it's made for different kinds. Maybe, I don't even know. Probably got that wrong. But you've got the 5-pronged one here, the 4-pronged here. It's been a while since I used this. I think you use the 5-prong side with pretty typical AR sights, but I could be wrong. I might have that mixed up. And then obviously you need a big old pair of pliers. That right there is the bore snake for my AR, or I suppose I could use it for a, I'm going to get another 22 here. I'm going to go get a Ruger 1022 in the next few days. So I'm guessing I could use it for that too, because I mean, another 22 caliber in diameter barrel, so I don't know, we'll see. I think that should probably work for my AR and the 22 I'm going to go pick up. The duct tape here is more of serves for a bench block. So that way, because you got a pretty nice sticky surface here so things don't slide off. If you're trying to tap some pins out, lay whatever you want across here, and then you've got it raised up off the table, and you can drive those pins out, and it's pretty easy, and you don't scratch up your table or anything like that. You could go get a bench block too if you want to spend the money, but I think duct tape works just fine for me. And then these here, just little rags, you know, I kind of try to recycle and whatever. Well, they're sleeves off of undershirts, and it drives me crazy how the sleeves on an undershirt like bunch up into your other sleeves. That's just bullshit. It seems like they ought to have better undershirts. I don't know, whatever. But I just cut the sleeves off and then use them as gun rags. Works fine. And then here's the frog lube. This stuff it's really nice. You know, I love it so far. It's the best stuff that, you know, I've used so far. You can keep everything relatively dry, yet you get just as smooth and like perfect of action on, you know, just the slide on a pistol or the bolt in an AR or whatever you got. It'll go just as smooth as if you have it like soaked in some of that. So I personally say use this, because when you soak things in this attracts all sorts of dust and carbon deposits and everything else. and you get gunpowders, you know, just all whatever shit blows back through your gun, it sticks to whatever this is on. I mean, this is like, this is a complete like shit attractor. You know, it just attracts everything. The oily surface, dust, dog hair, just whatever's flying through the air, it's gonna find a way to stick to whatever this is on. And this here, I don't notice any dog hair, any nonsense building up. I mean, you don't even have to clean the gun as often. Go try some of this. It's good stuff. So, here's just a quick little overview of most of the tools and stuff that I use when I'm working on my guns. And you know, if there's anything you guys recommend or any new tools, I know there's different stuff out there. I want to get a better AR wrench. There are like specific. I've got a bushing tool, actually. I forgot to get that out. I've got a bushing tool for my 1911, but usually I just find any other little plastic object or something and just use the edge of it to push down on the recoil spring housing thing, you know, so that you can move the bushing to the side and disassemble. So yeah, anyways, if there's any tips you guys have on you know, different tools, whatever, let me know. Cool. Thanks for watching.